Hi folks, welcome to our presentation on installment notes receivable where there's a down payment. In this case, Beggy Corporation agreed to give Zhang $36,000 for services provided by Zhang, and in return for the difference, Zhang took back a note. So we can use the simple fact that total dollar value of all debits and credits needs to be equal in a journal entry and calculate the value of the note receivable. But what if I didn't give you the value of the service revenue? What would you do then? If I didn't give you the value of the service revenue, you could use the data in the question to help you calculate the value of the note receivable and then credit your service revenue by the total dollar value of the debits, which would be $91,844.10. So what are the parameters that go on the calculator to do that? Well, your interest rate is given to you in the question as 11%. That's your yield or market rate. We're also giving you that the number of periods to maturity of the note is 4. We've also told you that Beggy agrees to pay Zhang $18,000 with each payment at December 31st. We also know that the future value of the note is 0. Why? Because with an installment note, $18,000 of payment includes not just interest, but it also includes repayment of the note. So in this case, we will find that when we do the amortization schedule for the note, the value of the note receivable is decreasing with every payment of $18,000 that we receive, because the payment is blended, meaning that it includes interest as well as some principal being paid down on the note. And therefore, if we compute PV, we're going to get a number $55,844.10. In fact, I think exact you would probably get 2 cents as opposed to 10. But the textbook has set this up at 10 cents. Likely what they did to get a difference of 8 cents from what you would calculate in your calculator is they probably used tables which are located in the back of the textbook in order to calculate or come up with this amount. So in any case, I'm not going to worry about it for 8 cents when I've got $55,000 in a note, but you should notice that the table will sometimes produce amounts that are a little bit different from what the calculator produces, but always use the calculator because it does provide the more accurate figure. Now, in order for us to move on to the next part of the question, we also need to do an amortization schedule for the note so that we can calculate the amount of interest revenue and the amount of principal being paid down with every $18,000 payment. Again, we're going to use the effective interest method here. So to do that, we start off at the issue date with the carrying value of our note of $55,844.10. So here, in 2015, we have to figure out how much of that $18,000 payment is interest revenue. So now, we take the present value of the note to open 2015, which is the same as at the end of 2014, multiply it by 11%, and we're going to get $6,142.85. The difference between the payment in full and the amount of cash payment for interest included in this leaves us with an amortization of the note based on the difference between these two numbers, which is $11,857.15. So the difference between the note at its carrying value at the date it was issued and the amount of principal paid down by Beggy's $18,000 payment is going to leave us with a present value of $43,986.95, which is the difference between the carrying value and the amount paid down. Following this logic through to 2016, we have the same thing. We can see that the $18,000 payment is now going to pay down $4,838.56 of interest, which is $43,986.95, which is the present value to open 2016 times 11% interest, and that's going to give us $48,3856. All right, and then we're going to be left with that $18,000 payment, including not just the cash interest, but also payment on principal of the note. The difference between the principal on the note to open the period, 2016, plus the amount that we paid down during 2016 is going to leave us with a present value of $30,825. So now, I think you can see the logic moving through. So therefore, if we look at the journal entries, we can see that for 2015, our $18,000 payment is taken in by Zhang as a debit to cash. We're going to credit or reduce the note receivable by the amount of principal being paid down within the $18,000 payment, and we're also going to book the amount of cash as interest revenue, all right, based on the difference between the interest paid and the amount of the note being amortized, and that's going to give us $6142.85. Again, we get this number by multiplying the present value to open the period of that note by 11%. So we have that calculation for you right here. All right. Now, we do the same thing every period. We just look through our table, find out how much interest revenue we have, all right, here, and how much the note's being paid down by, and notice that with each entry we're crediting the note, which is to reduce the asset, right? A credit reduces an asset. That means we're paying down the note. So this is different from what we were doing earlier with notes, whereby we were increasing them to their carrying value or face value, and then making a note at the end of the final period to clear out the note receivable. Here the note receivable is already cleared out, and that's what justifies the fact that our future value is zero. So the note decreases because with every payment that's made, the principal on the note is reducing. So now, if we move on, Part B of the question asks, for installment notes, what's the advantage of using one in comparison to non-interest-bearing notes? Well, first of all, the risk of non-collection is reduced. So why is that? Because an installment note is always going to provide you with regular payments on the note. So in other words, in our case, the $18,000 was more than just interest. It pays down principal. So every time you receive a payment on an installment note, you're already getting back part of the payment of the note. You're not having to wait at the end of the 4-year period or 3-year period, whatever it is. In this case, it's 4 years in order to get back the face value of the note. You're getting it back with every payment. So in essence, there's a reduced risk of non-collection. So that concludes our presentation on installment notes receivable with a down payment.